The speech-making prose at President Obama's second inauguration this January was broken up by a moment of pure poetry from Richard Blanco, a man who traveled a long road to get there. Seth Doane has his story.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, America.
For a poet, it's the most prominent platform imaginable.
One sun rose on us today, kindled over our shores, peeking over the Smokies,
greeting the faces of the Great Lakes.
But before he performed President Obama's second inauguration, Richard Blanco practiced here.
One light, waking up rooftops, under each one a story.
On the balcony of his home in Bethel, Maine, he recited his poem called One Today to a snowman his nephews had built in his backyard.
Millions of faces in morning's mirrors, each one
yawning to life, crescendoing into our day.
It helped me a lot in the sense of when I was up there, I did think about the snowman.
He still doesn't know why the White House picked him to be the inaugural poet.
In some ways I want to know, in some ways I want it to remain a mystery because I don't want to be disillusioned.
Why? Why would you be?
Well, I have these romantic visions of, President Obama and Michelle sitting around before bedtime and, one of them saying, we should get this guy up here for the inaugural.
And may he forever bless these United States of America.
On Inauguration Day, he says it was exhilarating and terrifying.
There was a moment also where the tension gets so thick that you just want to get it over with.
And when was that moment?
Right when they announced Kelly Clarkson, I was like, come on, girl.
Sweet land of liberty.
Kelly Clarkson sang just before Blanco took the stage.
When I got to the podium, both the president and the vice president stood up very graciously and shook my hand. That really also gave me another boost of confidence in the sense that they were almost welcoming me and ushering me and presenting me to America in a very sort of beautiful way.
He was the fifth poet ever to read at a president's inauguration, and he followed legends like Maya Angelou at President Clinton's inauguration in 1993.
You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness.
And Robert Frost at JFK's 1961 swearing-in.
The land was ours before we were the land.
One ground, our ground.
Blanco was the youngest, the first Latino, and the first openly gay inaugural poet.
I feel like I'm a reflection of the very contemporary America that we're living in.
He had just 6 weeks to come up with something. His once serene existence in Maine became anything but, as he worked day and night to craft the perfect poem.
At the beginning, you're like, wow, this is really nice, blah, blah, blah. And then the next morning, you're like, I hate that poem.
His partner of 12 years, Mark Nauvoo, did what he could.
It was such an intense creative time that even just a little noise, could set him off. Yeah. So I was exiled.
They moved to Bethel 4 years ago so that Mark, a molecular biologist, could take a job. Richard wrote, worked on the planning board, and felt welcome in the tiny town. People here in town didn't know you were a poet?
No, they didn't really, it's kind of like, well, like you say you're a poet, so it's kind of like an odd thing to say to people is you say a poet and they're like, oh yeah, and my grandfather's a poet, and they're like, do you have to explain it? No, like, I'm really a poet.
I really understand.
I have books.
None of the girls had hair of gold. None of my brothers or cousins were named Greg, Peter, or Marcia. We were not the Brady Bunch.
His Cuban roots are a regular theme in his poems, as is his longing to find home.
My brother and I should still be playing parcheesi. My father should still be alive. Slow dancing with my mother on the sliding glass balcony of the Golf Motel.
The slip and slide in the summer was over here.
Nice. Blanco grew up in Miami, the son of Cuban exiles.
I remember having like lawn furniture for living room furniture and things like that. And
it was a modest upbringing.
Oh, yes. Ah, gracias. Oh, those are awesome.
We met the family at Sergio's Cuban Diner in Miami.
So everything involved around food, either you're
his brother Carlos, and their mother, Geisha, who got a coveted seat on that inaugural stage. She mainly speaks Spanish. All of this attention has made her a bit of a celebrity at the local bank where she works.
Do you sign the autograph?
Oh yeah, I'm sure she does. For me, the proudest thing of him being up there was that all the hard work paid off in a totally unexpected way.
Unexpected because Blanco's first career was civil engineering.
All the laying out of the road, of all the curbing, of all the concrete.
We visited one of his projects in Dade County.
Were you the person who chose how loud that bell is going to be?
He sees similarities between his civic design and his poems.
What I do in poetry a lot is, sort of create a space for people to walk into mentally. Hope, a new constellation, waiting for us to map it, waiting for us to name it together.
He's relishing his moment in the spotlight, and poetry's too.
I love it because of the attention it brings to poetry in America in general. And so I'm embracing it in the sense, when else is poetry spoken about at this scale in our country? It's rare.
Rare, and for Richard Blanco, wonderful.